Won't you stay a while? Leave your worries by the door. Maybe stay the night. Lay your troubles on me. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Dylan here from Studio Bedroom. Today we're going to be looking at our acoustic mix. So the three main things we're going to be looking at today are EQ, compression, and the third is reverb. So we're going to start off by looking at EQ and what EQ does. So EQ is the frequency spectrum from 0 up to 20,000 Hertz, and what EQ does is EQ manages this frequency spectrum. So what I've done to the vocal here, you can see I have reduced 200 Hertz by 3.5, reduced 930 by 4.5, and increased 3000 by 5.5 and 10,000, and I'm going to explain why I've done this. So let's listen to the vocal by itself. Won't you stay a while? Leave your worries by the door. Okay, so why have I EQ'd this vocal this way? So when I was listening back to the vocal, I could hear that it sounded a little bit muddy, like the singer was too close to the microphone. So I've decided to reduce 200 Hertz by 3.5. This frequency range here is where you'll normally find your muddy sounds. Also, the singer had a bit of a too much nasally tone, and that's why I've reduced here. And finally, to give the vocal presence in the mix, I've boosted 3,350 by 5.5. The top end, what this does, this gives the vocal, well, it gives any sound that you EQ a bit more air to it, a bit more clarity. So you'll hear, if you increase this all the way up, all the T's and S's will be really accented. So a good technique for getting rid of any unwanted sound, like I've done here with the nasally sound, is just increasing a band of EQ pretty much all the way up and scrolling through while you're playing. This will allow you to hear clearly any sounds that you don't like. So I need to remember where I've put that. Roughly about there. And I've also done a pass filter from 75 Hertz down. This is because you don't need these frequencies in a vocal, and they're just gonna clog up the mix. So EQ on the guitar. Let's listen to the guitar track by itself. Okay, so what have I done for the EQ here? So yet again, the original recording was a little bit muddy, or quite muddy, as I've reduced around 200 again by 8 decibels. And also to give the guitar a little bit of brightness, I've added 5 dBs on this is called a shelf, a high shelf. You can see it's a different shape to the rest of the bands of EQ. So I've added a high shelf of 5 dB from 10K up to give the guitar a little bit of brightness, and that's why I've also increased here as well. Now you can see I've decreased 2,400 by 5.5, and this is because these frequencies when you listen to the guitar and vocal together, we're competing, and I want the vocal to stand out over the guitar more, so the guitar is the one that gets these reduced. And yet again, I've put in a filter just to get rid of that sub bass that we don't really need. So moving on to compression. Well, what is a compressor? Oh, by the way, I'll show you how to add a compressor in Logic. So you click, this is your, if you open up the mix window, you press X, and it's showing me my channel strip for the vocal because I have it soloed. You go to Audio FX, you want to click a grey, like one of these grey spaces that are in the vocal channel. Click that, go down to Dynamics, Compressor, Mono. That's going to add a compressor, but I already have one here, so I'm going to get rid of that. So what is a compressor? A compressor is something that's going to smooth out the dynamics in your audio. It's going to set a limit to how loud something can go, and it's going to bring up the low volumes as well. So you're probably looking at all these knobs and wondering what they do. So the first one we're going to look at is attack. What attack does is it decides how quickly the compressor is going to grab your sound, and that's basically what it does. The next one is release. That is how long the compressor is going to take to let go of your sound as well. Makeup. This is just going to increase the amplitude of the sound. It's going to make it louder by however many dB you decide. Next one we're going to look at is threshold, and what threshold does is it decides at what volume the compressor is going to activate at. So I have mine at -120 dB, and we'll discuss that in just a sec. The next one is ratio. Ratio decides how much the compressor is going to reduce peaks, and how it does this is by combining with the threshold. So you can see, for example, I have it at 6:1, but if we put it to 2:1, because it's going to be easier maths for me, if a sound goes over -21 by 1 decibel, it is going to reduce the sound by 2 decibels because it's 2:1. So if I go back to 6:1 was where I had it, if it went over -21 dB by 1 decibel, it would reduce it by 6. If it went over by 2, it would reduce it by 12. If it went over by 3 decibels, it would reduce it by 18, and so on and so forth. So I have these settings here. When you're compressing your own stuff, you can experiment. You can always experiment, but these are, if you want to copy my settings as a starting point, you can look at it here. So -120 dB for threshold, 6:1 for ratio, 5.5 makeup, 51 millisecond release, and 0.5 attack. And so the point, if say you wanted your vocal to have a pop sound, you'd want the dynamics to be pretty flat, so you would use what's called a heavy compression, which is gonna flatten down all the peaks and increase all the quiet parts, so the dynamics stays consistent throughout the whole thing. The next compressor we have is on the acoustic guitar. This one I haven't compressed as much as the vocal because I wanted to have some dynamics to it. You can copy these if you want to have a nice starting point. And so finally, we're going to look at busing our tracks into your reverb. And what that means is sending, for example, the vocal signal into an auxiliary track, which is going to have the reverb on it. And I will show you how to do that now. So you open up your mixer window by pressing X on your keyboard. So I'm going to have both of those on. So to create an auxiliary track, you're going to go to Options, Create New Auxiliary Channel Strip, and a yellow strip is going to come up. You can double click here if you want to rename it. I already have mine named. What you're going to do after that, you're going to go to this grey space that is next to Input. You're going to click that, go to Bus, and you're going to select it as Bus 1. And once you've done that, you're going to go to your vocal, you're going to go to Sends, you're going to hold down, go to Bus, and you're going to send it to Bus 1. And you can see this green wheel next to the bus. This is how much of the signal you're going to send. So I have it set to 0 dB, so it just sends the entire signal that hasn't been increased or reduced in any way. The next thing you're going to do, the same way we added the compressor earlier, you go to the grey space, click it, Reverb, Space Designer. Logic has 4 different reverbs, but the one I'm going to use is Space Designer. You're going to click Stereo. I already have one on, so I just show you this. I've decided to pick, it's called Long Reverb, and how you get to there is you click this arrow, large space. They got large space, medium space, small spaces, all sorts of different reverbs. So I went for large, hall, and long reverb. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the signal from fully, it'll be somewhere around here when you load it up, all the way down to fully wet signal. And you're going to adjust the reverb to however you like it. I like mine reasonably quiet, -25 dB is good for me. And then in an acoustic song like this, to get some nice balance either side and to create some space, I have bussed my guitar into another reverb. So we can see here's the vocal, and this is going into this reverb here. I'll rename it to vocal reverb. And this one is the guitar reverb. And so I've panned the guitar 24 to the left and then panned the reverb 24 to the right, and I'll let you hear what that sounds like. So you can hear there that the reverb is on the right. So it's just ever so slightly on the right side of the mix. And that's everything for this video. I'll let you listen to the track one more time so you can get a feel for the kind of target sound you want to go for. Won't you stay a while? Leave your worries by the door. Maybe stay the night. Lay your troubles on me. I know it. That's all for me from now. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more, and thank you for watching.